All right, let's talk about Qubitcoin. Now, I know what you might be thinking. Another cryptocurrency, right? But stick with me because this one is built on an idea that is so fundamentally different, it could seriously change how we think about computing itself. So let me just throw this out there. What if all that incredible energy, all that processing power that goes into crypto mining, wasn't just, spinning wheels to secure a network? What if, instead of solving random math problems, it was actually doing something bigger, something almost cosmic, like simulating the very building blocks of our reality, the quantum world? And that really gets to the heart of the difference. With Bitcoin, you've got this immense power being used to solve puzzles just for the sake of network security. It works, but it's a closed loop. With Qubitcoin, that same energy is being spent on something profoundly useful, simulating actual quantum circuits. It's a shift from security for security's sake to security being a byproduct of valuable scientific work. So how in the world does this actually work? Right? How do you take crypto mining and turn it into this tool for quantum physics? Well, it all comes down to this really cool concept, mining with a purpose. The secret sauce is baked right into the process. The developers themselves lay it out pretty clearly. Miners aren't just guessing a random number anymore. They have to perform a genuine quantum task. They simulate a quantum circuit, and the result of that simulation becomes a totally necessary ingredient for creating the next block. To put it simply, you literally can't mine Qubitcoin without contributing to a quantum computation. To really get why this is such a radical idea, let's just take a quick step back and look at the world Qubitcoin is trying to change. Let's talk about the raw, sheer, brute force power of old-school Bitcoin mining. I mean, just look at this progression. We went from people mining on their basic home computers in 2009 to these hyper-specialized supercomputers called ASICs today. The explosion in power is just staggering. We are talking about a 10 million-fold increase in raw hashing power in just about 15 years. It's an almost unimaginable amount of computational force. And all of that innovation, all of that raw power and electricity has been laser-focused on one single job, guessing a number faster than the other guy to keep the network secure. Don't get me wrong, it's incredibly effective at what it does, but it's also incredibly narrow. And this is exactly where Qubitcoin proposes something completely new. It tries to act as a kind of bridge, taking that same competitive drive for more and more power and redirecting it from the classical world into the quantum realm. The technology that makes this whole bridge possible is called quantum proof of work, or QPOW for short. And honestly, it's a beautifully elegant idea. It takes the hardware that a lot of miners already have, these powerful GPUs, and tells them, hey, instead of guessing numbers, let's run simulations of actual quantum computers. It's blockchain security and useful quantum science all rolled into one process. Okay, so let's break down how this works in practice. For every single hash, a miner's computer has to go through these steps. It creates a quantum circuit, it measures the probabilities of its qubits, turns all that into a digital string, and then, and this is the key part, it mixes that result into the final hash. The quantum simulation isn't just a side quest, it's a fundamental, non-negotiable step that makes the entire system tick. So this brings up a really fascinating question. If we're not just measuring raw speed anymore, how do we measure this new kind of computational power? How do you even begin to quantify the quantumness of a whole network of regular computers? Well, to do that, you kind of need a new ruler. So for this, we're going to use a system called the Q tier. Just think of it as a scale, like a Richter scale, but designed specifically to classify and compare different levels of quantum power, whether it's coming from a real quantum computer or a distributed network like Qubitcoin. And here's a peek at that scale. You've got Q0 down at the bottom, which is basically where we are now with our classical computers. But as you start moving up those tiers, you get into the same league as today's most advanced quantum processors, from heavy hitters like Google and IBM. This gives us a really solid benchmark to see where everything stacks up. So, the million-dollar question, where does the Qubitcoin network actually fit on this scale? Well, when you combine the power of all its miners, the network lands firmly in the Q1 to Q2 range. Now look at that. That puts it right alongside dedicated, state-of-the-art quantum computers from Google and IBM. That's pretty wild. Now, if you look at it in classical terms, the network's current hash rate is about 66 terahashes per second. That's a big number for sure.
But let's get some perspective here. That entire network's hash rate, it's about the same as what one single high-end Bitcoin mining machine can crank out. So in the brutal world of classical crypto mining, 66 terahashes is, well, it's not that much.
But see, that's the wrong way to look at it. We've been trained to think in classical terms. We have to ask a totally different question. In quantum terms, what is all that power actually doing with every single hash?
And the answer is absolutely breathtaking. That seemingly modest hash rate is performing so many quantum simulations that it's the equivalent of running 5 to 10 of Google's actual Sycamore quantum computers, all at the same time, 24/7. Suddenly, 66 terahashes sounds very, very different, doesn't it?
And this leads us to a pretty mind-bending conclusion. What if Qubitcoin isn't just a cryptocurrency at all? What if what we're really looking at are the first baby steps of a completely new kind of supercomputer? And there's a really clear road ahead for growth. As GPUs just naturally get more powerful, the network could easily push into that Q2, Q3 tier. A little further down the line, you could see dedicated hardware jump in, or even, get this, integration with real cloud-based quantum computers. That could push it into the truly powerful Q4 and Q5 tiers. What this all means is that right now, as we speak, Qubitcoin is effectively the largest public distributed network for quantum simulation on the entire planet. It's a grassroots, decentralized supercomputer built by the people for exploring the quantum world. And that kind of leaves us with one final big thought. We're sitting here measuring its progress in blocks being added to a chain, but what if what we're really watching is the birth of a global quantum network, being built piece by piece, hash by thousands of people all over the world?